Now, we'll spend some time talking about the laws that created the protected classes and some examples of discrimination and harassment. The examples from real cases are not intended to offend anyone. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 states that it shall be unlawful employment practice for an employer to fail or refuse to hire, or to discharge any individual, or otherwise to discriminate against any individual with respect to the compensation, terms, conditions, or privileges of employment because of such individual's race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. Examples of racial or color discrimination include refusal to sit next to a Hispanic employee at staff meeting claiming, "I don't want to be with those types who can't even speak English." Refusal to work with an employee whose skin is either darker or lighter than their own. Examples of racial color harassment include calling a coworker a dumb Mexican repeatedly, an African American telling another African American employee, "You don't qualify as one of us because your skin is too light," referring to a boss or coworker as a cracker. Let's talk about national origin. The Immigration Reform and Control Act of 1986 prohibits certain employers from discriminating based on national origin or citizenship, requesting employment verification only from people who are or appear to be of certain national origin, or giving preferences to U.S. citizens. Examples of national origin discrimination include basing an employment decision on an employee's foreign accent, unless the accent materially interferes with specific job duties or job performance. English fluency requirements are only permissible if required for effective performance of the position for which it is imposed. For example, if someone is a receptionist and they are needing to be the first and most effective communication, it is essential then that they are able to speak English, because that is the language that we deal with most often here at the university. However, requiring someone to use English during their break time would be inappropriate. So English-only rules must be related specifically to the job and the essential functions of that job. Let's talk about national origin harassment, making foreign-born employee the brunt of jokes. For example, telling Polak jokes, that's about someone who's Polish. Making derogatory remarks about an employee's ancestry, prohibiting employees from speaking their native language during breaks. Employees are allowed to use their language of choice during their breaks and personal time for non-essential communication throughout the workday. All right, let's talk about religion. Employees are hired by a public employer for their skill set, and therefore their religion is not relevant in the workplace. The Utah Anti-Discrimination Act states that an employer may not refuse to hire, promote, discharge, demote, or terminate any person, or to retaliate against, harass, or discriminate in matters of compensation, in terms, privileges, and conditions of employment against any person otherwise qualified because of race, color, sex, pregnancy, childbirth, or pregnancy-related conditions, age if the individual is 40 years of age or older, religion, national origin, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity. It is important not to make assumptions about a person's religion or to ask them if they are affiliated with a particular religion. This is very important, particularly for new employees entering the workplace. Again, their religion is not relevant to the workplace. While it is appropriate under state law to discuss religion in personal conversations in the workplace, it is essential that it does not permeate the workplace to the extent that the discussion or conversation becomes exclusionary or appears to be proselytizing. Examples of religious discrimination: asking a new coworker their religion and then refusing to provide training or support because they are atheist. telling a student that if they are not LDS, they cannot comprehend the material and will not be capable of earning an A in the class. Examples of religious harassment: sending an email to the department stating an employee is not qualified to do their job based on their religious beliefs. Inviting an employee repeatedly to read religious material of a particular faith. Leaving religious information or symbols in prominent public areas in the workplace to send the message that one religion is more predominant than another. Disparaging others' religious beliefs to the extent that the employee feels singled out and feels personally attacked. The Age Discrimination Act, or ADEA, protects individuals who are 40 years of age or older from employment discrimination based on age. These protections apply to both employees and job applicants. Examples of age discrimination: refusing to work with older employees because old people don't know how to use computers. Only requesting to work with youthful coworkers. Telling a non-traditional student, someone over 40, that they have lost too many brain cells to participate in a team project. Speaking to older workers about age characteristics, skin, hair, cognitive processes, assuming that older workers cannot grasp new technology, assuming that they have the requisite knowledge and declining training opportunities for them, paying them less because they might already be retired from another position and earning a retirement income. Examples of age harassment: excessive comments about an employee's aches or pains or old bones, constantly referring to the student as old man, frequent, rude, or pervasive questions such as, "Aren't you ready to retire yet? Wouldn't you make more money